Really graduating high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't really have any career goals or any goals for that matter. The only thing I thought about is, okay, I asked myself, what are you good at? And I said, okay, I can sing a little bit. So I'm going to go into music. So when I started college, I was a major in music. But then I slowly realized being a major in music takes a lot of time and practice. And that just, at that time, that wasn't something that I wanted to do. Procrastination was my downfall. I wasn't practicing the way I was supposed to. And so I slowly kind of drifted away from the music field. And then I was a part of a lot of network marketing businesses. So I thought about, hey, let's go into sociology, the study of, people, since I'm in this, business, with other people. So I went into sociology and I realized that that wasn't what I wanted to do. So after sociology, during my time in college, I took a ASL class, and I thought, well, maybe I can be a major in ASL. Procrastination and practicing your skill was not something that I was good at, so that didn't work out for me. Only thing I knew that I can do with ASL was be a teacher, and I had already marked teaching off my list. That was one something that I, was going to go into a field that I wanted to go into. So finally, after a few years, I, kind of quit. Just life, getting married, having kids, moving from apartment to different apartments, and I kind of put school off for a few years, and then I end up getting a job when I got back on the track to look for a job. I was in banking for a little bit of time, and so I thought accounting. You know, I left a 4-year college, went to a technical school, and I thought that maybe I'll do accounting. I'm in banking. I love doing what I was doing. So I went into accounting and realized it was too much math. Again, stopped doing that. Worked in banking for like a few years, and when I got done with banking, had another child, end up taking another break. A few years later, I end up searching for another job, and I found an administrative assistant job. Didn't know what field it was in. All I knew was administrative assistant job, and it happened to be close to where I was residing at the time. So I went on the interview and realized that it was administrative assistant job at probation and parole office. So during this time, I was taking on the role as administrative assistant in the drug court of my county. Now, this was a world that I had no idea about. I knew nothing about addiction, recovery, relapse, any street drug names. Like, this is something that I was new to. And I didn't realize the amount of people that was struggling from addiction and needed help and needed resources. So that's when I kind of went back, to school and was like, okay, I want to do psychology. I want to, learn, more about addiction and, behavior and how the human mind works. So I got my bachelor's in psychology, and as time went on, I ended up promoting, and I thought, well, maybe let me become more hands-on and become a officer. And from then, I decided that I wanted to pursue a master's degree in social work. So that's pretty much where I am now. I've been a probation officer for 3 years, and I'm on my last year of my master's in social work. So I just really, my goal is to help those in need, mental health and substance abuse, and help them become productive citizens of the community. Educate, those that don't know much, like me starting off. Educate those that don't know much about addiction, so that they can better understand, their family and friends that may be suffering from those type of illnesses. You talked about passion, and that's a big thing. Anytime I'm talking about helping others, and feeling the need of the community, that is my passion. So the highlight of my job is when I have a client who struggled with addiction, and they fight me. I don't want to go to treatment, I don't want to do this, you mean y'all don't care, just all these negative things. And the whole time, I'm fighting more than them. Like, hey, you're doing this for your family. You can do this. Like, come on, just never giving up on them. And then for them to go through treatment and begin their recovery and say, you know what? Officer Haney, thank you so much for not giving up on me. I know I was not nice to you, and you was doing everything you want to do, and I kept pushing you away, but thank you so much for not giving up on me. That is why I do what I do, for those individuals that don't see the future. They only see right now, and I help them to see the future, see what they could be, building relationships with their family, so just seeing them overcome their addiction, and become successful citizens of the community. A lot of individuals in this field often struggle with, burnout, being overwhelmed. For me personally, I talk a lot to my friends, my coworkers about, because I have a lot of friends that I work with in the field. So I talk with them about different things. I don't hold things in. If I'm feeling some type of way, I'm expressing that. Different things. A lot of what we actually learn in the social work field is self-care. That is a big thing. Self-care. You got to have those individual things, and take time for yourself with things that keep your mind at peace and keep you calm. And a few of those things for me is exercising, going to the gym, having that time to myself, spending time with my family, reading, music, just those little things. There is my self-care. On the weekends, maybe taking a walk in the neighborhood, going out to eat, getting my nails done, different things like that is some coping strategies that I use during those difficult times. When I'm observing some of the therapy sessions with my field instructor, I'm really looking at her tone. I'm looking at her facial expression, how she's sitting. I observe, the physical things, that she's do, how relaxed she is. And that's really what I use when I'm talking to my clients as a probation and parole officer. I mimic how she handles herself and her tone and everything in her therapy sessions. I mimic that with my clients when I'm at work. So I'm more of a, person that, I learn by seeing someone do something, and then I can pretty much do what I've seen them do.
Okay.
For the high schools that's transitioning into college, is knowing what you want to do, go and explore different fields, doing your time in high school to kind of give you a feel of what you want to do. so that you won't waste so much, time. I got to the point, changing my major so much that it kind of set me back. I had credits that I didn't need no more. That was financial aid spent that I could have used somewhere else. So really just knowing what you want to do. And it's okay. If you don't know what you want to do that first year, it's fine. Just take your basics. So that one thing is kind of having a goal in place of what you want to do, and stick with that. Another thing is it's never too late to start again. I started and stopped so many times, and although hours, college hours that I didn't need, and money was spent, I started again, because when I did finally know what I wanted to do, I didn't want that or any other barriers to stop me from the goals that I wanted to pursue.